Today I'm going to be giving my review for Pokemon Ultra Sun, which by the way, it was incredible. Now that I've beaten the main story of the game, I can finally give it a review. This is definitely a contender for being one of the best Pokemon games of all time. The story for Pokemon Ultra Sun was one of the best stories for a mainline Pokemon game. Is it a JRPG Hall of Fame? No, but it was great for a Pokemon game. I will give it a 9 when it comes to story. I didn't have any issues with the visuals for the game, so I'll give that a score of 10. I think they did a fine job considering the hardware that was being used. I also didn't come across any bugs or functionality problems while I was playing, so I'll give that a score of 10 too. If you want to know how much I enjoyed my playthrough, I'll give that a score of 9. It was probably the most enjoyable experience I had while playing a Pokemon game since I played Pokemon Silver back when I was a kid. As far as creativity, I will give this a score of 10. The Pokemon Company definitely stepped outside of their comfort zone with this game, because this is probably the main Pokemon game where I've seen the company borrow or get inspiration from so many other games with their content. For example, some of the Z moves look like they came straight out of Dragon Ball Z, and the dimension or spacey concept felt like it was coming straight from Spectrobes. I'm just saying the timing would make sense. Now regarding game features, I'll score that at a 9.5. This is probably one of the most feature-rich Pokemon games I've come across. There are so many things packed into this game. The next category would be challenge. I will give this a score of 9. This was one of the most challenging Pokemon games I've played. And the best part was I didn't feel like the developers were forcing me to play with one hand tied behind my back by heavily limiting my options. Some of you might know which other game I'm referring to. For guidance, I will score the game at a 9.5. The reason this score is so high, and also why it's not a perfect 10, is because the game is extremely linear and directs the player the whole time, but somehow it still managed to not give clear enough directions at a few points. The next category is dialogue. I will score this at a 10. This game had some of the best conversations in any Pokemon game I've played. I didn't feel bored or like falling asleep while reading the dialogue. Now finally, this brings me to the last category. Replayability. This is where I feel like the game runs into a problem. Because since the game is extremely linear and has several unskippable cutscenes, I feel like this is not a game most people would want to replay over and over. I'll rate this last category at a 5 if I'm giving an honest reaction. This will bring the final score to still a high 9.1.
If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to subscribe and like and share. Find out what happens next time on the OFC.